Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep. What company do you keep?
Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it.
Well, hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And we're smiling hard because we are loving our engineer today. She is so amazing. She was over there getting her groove on off the song and counting us down. So thank you for helping us out today.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. We are excited to be here. Of course, we're going to ask you to go to listenvisionlive.com for all of our social media followers so that you can see the show in its entirety. I am Dr. Sharon Cradle, and I am the oldest of this dynamic duo for all of our new viewers.
Yes, and I am Sherelle Higgins, and I am your favorite co-host of this dynamic duo. As you can see, I am fanning fiercely because I am having a hot flash, and I don't have them often, but when they come, it's payback time.
Yes, they are
so
real.
For all the times I don't have one, when it's coming back, it's not nice. So I'm only going to fan a little bit longer, and then I'm going to let it go because then I'm going to have a chill, and then we'll move on.
How many of you know, and we already know that we are in Christmas season.
Yes.
And what is the reason for the season? It's to celebrate Jesus Christ.
Right.
Right? So we all know that Christmas is officially celebrated here on December the 25th. And again, we are here to commemorate the birth of Jesus Christ, right, as a religious and cultural celebration. And did you know that it is celebrated amongst billions of people around the world? So as we are celebrating with family and friends, let's remember why we celebrate Christmas, and it was because of Jesus Christ, the birth of Jesus Christ. And I'm excited about that because this is, how we end the year, how appropriate to end another year with a Christmas holiday, to celebrate the birth of Christ as well as to spend time with family and friends. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the government shutdown. We're going to talk about some of our favorite Christmas songs. We're going to talk about some traditions, and we really would hope that you all would call in and participate in the conversation so that we can just have a little bit of fun around some of your memories growing up. Because some of our children, they don't know what it's like to go outside and make toy sticks or, share a Christmas gift and things like that. So let's have some fun today.
I know my kids don't know nothing about that.
Yes. And Sherelle is really going to engage us in that conversation about some things to expect, because people that don't work for the federal government don't always understand what that means for the people who are not working. And so Sherelle, that's her job as an HR professional with the federal government. So she's just going to school us a little bit on what happens during that time and some things we need to be aware of.
So, we spend millions of taxpayers' dollars just preparing for a shutdown. There are meetings every day, sometimes twice a day, 3 times a day, to talk about what needs to happen, when it needs to happen, how it needs to happen, who need to make it happen. And instead of, doing the public's business, we are preparing for a shutdown. And then once we prepare for a shutdown, then the shutdown actually happens. Then we have to wait for somebody to give us the go-ahead. Even though the media is reporting that we're shut down, we have to wait for the go-ahead to issue to employees shutdown notices to basically say either A, you are exempt from the shutdown and you must work without pay, or to say you are affected by the shutdown and you are not to work. And so during the shutdown period, those of us who are exempt and have to work, we are really only supposed to be working on mission critical stuff, right? Things that has to happen. And so when we go into the office, I'm hoping that, those people who work for those major departments who are affected by the shutdown understand that your health benefits are going to remain in place.
That's good to know. Yes.
You're going to have your health benefits. You're going to have your vision. You're going to have your dental. All of that is going to stay, right? You're going to get your check. Either you got your check this weekend or you're going to get your check next weekend.
Very important.
That's going to happen because the systems are already set up because we were waiting. We knew this was a possibility. So the systems are already set to run payroll next week if you didn't get paid this past weekend. And so, but beyond that, if, let's say, for example, the government is shut down for another 2 weeks after next week, then that means that many federal employees will not receive their paycheck. And so, and what does that really mean other than, you normally wake up and your money in your bank account and that's not going to be the case? How do we move forward from there? What's the real impacts of it? So,
and before you get to the impacts, I know you and I talked about this earlier. It is considered a partial shutdown. And so explain to our listening audience, what does that mean exactly? Who's affected by that?
It's considered a partial shutdown because it's not all federal employees. It's only certain federal employees who work for the Department of Transportation, Homeland Security, Interior, Treasury, and Commerce. So it's only like 9 federal agencies that's impacted, but those 9 in the Department of Housing and Urban Development, those 9 the cabinet level agencies are huge, right? They have a lot of employees, and so it's going to impact a lot of employees. According to the media, they're talking about roughly 800,000 employees will be impacted, and so there's about 2.3 million federal employees. So that's why they're calling it a partial shutdown. Some federal agencies have 2-year money that they can operate from, and that's why they're not impacted by this shutdown. A lot of other agencies only have 1-year money, meaning you have to spend it during the fiscal year or you lose it. And so that's basically what's happening right now. And usually Congress passes a continuing resolution, often referred to as a CR, to fund the government until they can get their act together and do their job. And so
let me ask another question. So those individuals who do not work at the cabinet level agencies, if they didn't, let's say the shutdown continues into Wednesday of next week, of this week, if they don't work for one of these agencies, they have to report to work.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Now, and it's only the cabinet level agents, the 9 cabinet level 9 cabinet level agencies. There are more than 9 cabinet level agencies.
But just
those 9.
Okay.
If you don't work for one of those agencies, show up for work. Don't lose your job at the house talking about I thought I was furloughed, because that's not going to go over well. If nobody told you were furloughed, assume you have to go to work.
And so how are they being notified that they're furloughed?
And so last week, Friday, we informed employees to take their laptops home so that if we are still shut down, and we will be by all intents and purposes on Wednesday, because that's the next regularly scheduled work day, because remember, 45 gave us Christmas Eve off.
That's right.
That was not technically a holiday for us.
Okay.
And so he gave us that day off. So our next regularly scheduled work day is Wednesday.
Okay.
And so employees were instructed last Friday to take their laptops home, and we will send them electronic notices Wednesday morning to say you have been furloughed.
So they don't have to go in to sign anything?
Not at our agency. They don't
Okay.
have to. Now, many agencies are doing it all kinds of ways. Because, keep in mind, this is the holiday season and people were on vacation. And so some people may be out of town. And so you want to make sure that you don't create an undue hardship on employees by requesting that they come into the office just to get a notice. And usually the shutdown activity can last no more than 4 hours. So even if agencies are requiring
wow.
employees to come into the office on Wednesday. They can't be there more than 4 hours, and it's only supposed to be to conduct an orderly shutdown. So let's say we are shut down for a total of 3 weeks. When everybody comes back to work, people who work with payroll, phones will be jumping off the hook because employees are going to have a lot of questions about, I missed my check. How does it happen? What happens to my health insurance premium? I didn't pay it because I didn't have a check. What happens to my TSP, my thrift savings plan, 401k for those who work in private industry? What happens to my money I was supposed to contribute to the TSP? What about the agency matching part? What if I was supposed to retire at the end of December and we were furloughed and shut down? Am I still considered retired? What happens? And what if I was retiring on December 31st and that was the 30th day that I needed to complete the 30 years?
Wow.
What happens with that? How does that work with OPM being open for business, but a lot of agencies being closed for business? Or will you still send my retirement package to OPM? It's that kind of thing that we'll be faced with when we come back. And then, on top of that, when do we run payroll, right? Normally, let's say we get paid this weekend coming. 2 weeks from now, we don't get a check, but then we come back 2 weeks later.
Right.
Do we cut the payroll checks immediately to give people their money? Or do we wait till the next pay cycle run and then pay people? And then that means you're getting 2 checks at one time, which means you're going to pay higher taxes on that money because now instead of your check being $1,000, it's now $2,000, and the tax bracket on $2,000 is very different than the tax bracket on $1,000. And then you still have to pay your health benefits. You're going to be times 2. All of your other deductions are going to be times 2, which will bring your take-home pay less. And so all of these things are going to impact federal employees if we stay on furlough for more than this week coming up, which there's a real possibility that we could. We're going to get a lot of, questions around how do you code the time cards. And even though, we'll put out employee communications, people won't read it, right?
Yes.
Because they rather call you and ask you the
That's
question instead of reading it and really trying to understand what the information is saying.
And so if anyone is going to be impacted by the partial shutdown who work at one of those cabinet level agencies, call us and let us know, what you're thinking, how it's going, and the process that they're using at your agency to make sure that you are being notified and kept abreast of what's really happening. And of course, you can call into the show at 833-202-TALK, 833-202-TALK to join in on the conversation.
One other thing I want to talk about is a lot of employees had use or lose during this time, right?
Oh, yes.
And so now, let's talk about use or lose from 2 different perspectives. The first perspective is the fact that Monday, December 24th, is now a holiday. If you had use or lose scheduled on that day and you don't get to reschedule it and take it before the leave year ends on January the 5th, you lose it.
Oh, wow.
If you don't get to reschedule it and take it by January the 5th, you lose it. However, because of the shutdown, you may get to keep it because anybody who had use or lose during this time scheduled before November 24th, scheduled and approved by November 24th. Don't forget the approved part. Your leave will be restored. Now,
it won't be counted against you.
It won't be counted against you. And
all
we
right.
will restore it next year. So you won't actually lose it. And so you want to make sure you understand what the rules are and how it applies to you.
Yes. And so we wanted to talk about the government shutdown to some point because being an educator, I don't understand the government shutting down, to be very honest with you, because one of the things we did not do is furlough teachers or educators in the places that I've worked. Now, we've done RIFs, but when you worked as an educator, you got paid. And so there was never a situation where you come into work and you don't get a paycheck. And so this is very different and very interesting to even consider. And we know that we've been through this before. And so is there a guarantee that if the shutdown is prolonged, let's say about a month, that people will get retroactive pay? Or is that decision made as they make decisions about how they're going to fund the government?
There's no guarantee that we'll get paid, but that decision will have to be made, and I'm hoping that they're going to do the right thing and pay people, because otherwise they're going to spend a lot of time in some class action lawsuits, right? Because people work for their money, as particularly those who still have to go into the office and work. You want to go ahead and just do the right thing. I don't know why the federal employees always have to bear the brunt of the nonsense that happens on Capitol Hill. But, so be it. It is what it is. My sister works for the federal government as well, and she called me up asking me these questions. I said, girl, enjoy your vacation. Mm-hmm. Just enjoy it, because my philosophy is I don't have it, right? I work for the government, right? And because I work for I work for the government, people who I do financial business with, because you made me put it on that piece of paper when you had me fill out all that stuff with my name and my social security number. You said, where do you work? And so I had to tell you then. So there's no need for you calling me, asking me about your money, because I don't have it. And when I get it, I will give it to you. So just save yourself a phone call. Take me off the list. When I had it, I was giving it to you on time, regularly. You ain't had no issues. So don't start calling me talking about where's your money, because you're going to get your feelings hurt.
Mm-hmm. But, this is something that we talked about previously, just about us being prepared for rainy days. And so many of us, we do live paycheck by paycheck, but we just have to have something for a rainy day. And because you just don't ever know. And it should not be, if you lose, you don't have one paycheck, that, you can't function. And I'm not sure if that's most people's situations, but it can happen, because they say so many of us are one or two paychecks away from being bankrupt. And I'm thinking, wow, is that right?
I have money for a rainy day, mm-hmm. but it's not to give to the mortgage company during the rain, right? It's not to give to the cable people during the rain. It's not to give to the cell phone people during the rain. It's to ensure that we can eat, right? And we can put some gas in these cars, because we're going to have to go somewhere at some point to do something. So that's what the money is for me for a rainy day. It is certainly not for the mortgage company. Mm-hmm. They going to have to wait.
Right. And so I guess, too, many federal government employees that I know, they just don't feel any anxiety around this, because they've been through it before. And so they understand. But people mm-hmm. that are watching from all over the world, if you don't understand, this is, a pretty significant and it's pretty significant around the holidays. And so holidays can be stressful all by itself without having something added as significant as a federal government shutdown for people to have to deal with.
I have a question here on Facebook Live that says, since a partial shutdown, are jobs for federal government still available? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They're still out there on OPM website, usajobs.gov. Put your application in. Now, nobody's not going to look at it until after the shutdown.
That's
but go ahead and put your application in,
because it's going to reopen.
Oh, it's going to reopen at some point.
It's about a matter of when.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, and so we just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And if you have any questions for Sherelle, because I don't work for the federal government, so I don't have all the ins and outs about how all of that works. But those of you who do not work, and this is important, for certain cabinet level agencies, if the federal government reopens, let's say on Wednesday or Thursday, if you don't work at one of those agencies, you have to go to work. Regardless. Right. And so when they go to work, are they still not going to get paid?
Oh, no, they'll get paid. Oh, they have money.
Because they have money. Okay.
And so basically, this is considered a lapse in appropriation shutdown, meaning that these agencies that are impacted have no money.
Okay.
And if they spend any money, they are in violation of the Anti-Deficiency Act.
Wow.
And so they can't spend any money. Other federal agencies who have money can go ahead and continue to spend their money.
So like the Department of Defense, people like that, they have to go to work because they're not one of these particular agencies.
That's true.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
Wow. And so, I was talking with my husband about it, and I was thinking about all of the businesses that surround the federal government agencies who will be impacted by this as well. So it's just
absolutely.
not the people who work for these agencies. It's all the businesses, I guess the metro. I mean, it's just a lot.
Yeah, everybody feels the impact, particularly
Right.
in the DMV area. Also, I was going to say that I think I lost my thought. It was something else I wanted to share with the audience about the shutdown. It'll come to me.
Okay.
But yeah, everybody's impacted it by, federal employees not at work. They're not going out for lunch. They're not
Right.
buying coffee. They're not buying breakfast. They're not, going shopping during lunchtime. They're not doing anything because they're not where they would normally be.
Right.
So
I saw on television, I can't think of the name of this restaurant, and I tried to commit it to memory, but I should have written it down. But anyway, this particular company, they sell hamburgers. And so they're saying any federal government employee that's going to be in the city on Wednesday, they're going to give away free hamburgers to everyone that comes into that establishment. And I said to myself, how ingenious is that? Because not only are you going to get this free hamburger, but most people will be able to buy some French fries and a soda or something to go with it. And so that's smart of them.
Chef Jose Andres.
Yeah, that's who it is. That's who it is.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know anything about
Yeah,
his
he has
restaurant.
quite a few restaurants too, and he has a restaurant called Haleo's.
Yes.
So he has quite a few restaurants, and I
Yes.
applaud him for that because even though technically federal employees are getting their checks for this pay period, right? It's still, that whole, I'm not going to spend extra money at Christmas time like I
Right.
would have because I don't know when I'm going to get my next check.
Right.
And, not everybody is financially prepared for a rainy day, right? And so they have to make some hard decisions now as opposed to going out and just spending extra money to, help boost the economy during Christmas time.
Exactly. Well, thank you for that, Sherelle. If you all have any questions regarding the partial federal government shutdown, please give us a call at 833-202-TALK. Or if you're on our social media feeds, just go ahead and send a question and we'll try to get to them. So now we're going to make a transition because we opened up with the reason for the season, and we are about to celebrate Christmas, and it is to commemorate the birth of Jesus Christ. That's what we believe as Christians. That's why we celebrate it.
Right.
So it's a religious and cultural celebration. Okay. And so what Sherelle and I wanted to do was to talk about some memories, some traditions, and some favorite songs as it relates to Christmas. And so if you don't mind, I'll start. For me, when I listen to Christmas songs, I have a lot that I like, but the one that really touches my heart is Silent Night by the Temptations. And anybody that hears that song, you know what I mean. They sing from the heart, and actually my husband, Ira, and the Men of Purpose sang that at church today. And they always do such a good job singing that song. And so the Temptations, and then Someday at Christmas, I actually kind of like the Mario version. He does a great job with that particular song. But there are so many to just, to demonstrate how blessed we are in this season, and that's what it's about. And to know that it's just not about presents. It's about, our health, the blessings of our family and our loved ones and our friends. And so that's what it's really all about for me.
Yes, and the one song that just sticks with me is This Christmas. Like, that song is just like everything. Like, that sets off the Christmas season. As soon as you hear that song right after Thanksgiving, it's on and popping. Christmas is right around the corner.
They don't even wait till
Right.
Thanksgiving is over.
Yeah, right. They start playing it at lunchtime on Thanksgiving Day.
Yes. And so as we're thinking about songs, I don't know how many of you have heard the controversy around the song Baby It's Cold Outside. And so I kept hearing this controversy, all this commentary around that song. So I had to go back and look at the lyrics, and I looked at the video, and I don't know how I feel about it because I don't have the context behind the song in terms of why it was written. But one of the things that stood out to me, and I think a lot of people probably are talking about, is one of the lines say, well, maybe just a half a drink more, and the female comes back and says, I don't know what's in this drink. What's in this drink, right? And so you have a lot of the Me Too activists and, people just trying to get the song banned. And when I looked at it, I looked at the video, and so I did see, a gentleman trying to, persuade the woman to stay, and just some of her facial expressions about her not really being uncomfortable. But when you look at the lyrics of the entire song, I'm not so sure if what was going on in that song compares to what we're talking about in the Me Too. And I don't have enough of the background for the song to make a judgment about it. But I can understand why some people would be kind of taken back by it, but who knows?
Yeah, it's cold outside, right? We can make stuff whatever we want it to be, right? I was watching The Breakfast Club this morning, and D.L. Hughley was on there, and that brother
he's brilliant.
Yes, and very vocal about how he feels about things. And, at some point, we just got to let entertainment be entertainment, right? And let the entertainers do what they do. Let the comedians do what they do, right? Because, they were really... this song, Baby It's Cold Outside, came out long time ago.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
And so,
yes.
for people to be jumping on the bandwagon about the lyrics now, because somebody probably remade it, is, I don't know, it's entertainment.
And one of the things I've learned not to do is to jump on bandwagons. And especially when I don't have context. And so if I could understand the context more, then maybe. But it's just about how you interpret it, right? And you're trying to compare it to what's happening today. And so I don't know. It's a song. I just feel like if it's a song that I don't like, I just won't listen to it.
Right.
Right.
It's real simple.
I'm not going to listen to it. And that's just me. I'm not saying that that's for anyone else. For me, I'm just not going to jump on a bandwagon because, it's all the buzz. And actually, all the buzz went away kind of last week. We're in this 24-hour news cycle, and you get
24 hours.
Yeah. And so you get your 1 minute of fame to talk about something, and then that's it. And so I don't know if anyone else out there has a different perspective about the song, or if you even care about it, because it was just a catchy song as far as I was concerned, and that happens with us often, that we don't necessarily listen to lyrics of songs. And so I never really paid any attention to that because it's the hook that most people know, Baby It's Cold Outside.
Absolutely. Ain't nothing like a good hook. If you got a good hook, I'm sold.
Exactly. And so that's enough about the song for me. So let's talk about growing up as children and your memories about Christmas. We were in church this morning, and our pastor, I think the Navy Toys for Tots or something, donated some toys to our church to give away, and then there were some extra ones. So he invited all children under the age of 9, I believe, to go to the Christmas tree out in the foyer to just get a gift. And the kids really didn't move. And so I kind of looked, I just thought that was so interesting. And I looked over at Alyssa and I said, now, isn't this interesting? I said, well, this is what happens when kids are so blessed. They don't get excited about having a toy under a Christmas tree at the church, maybe because these children are being blessed all year long for the most part. And so they're like, okay, I get gifts all the time. And so it just was not a big deal. And it just made me start thinking about, it was the Marines. Thank you, Walita. It made me think about growing up in the inner city of Chicago, and when I was getting dressed yesterday, something hit me about, were we upper poor class?
We were.
Is that what it's called? Lower class? Or were we lower middle class?
I think we were lower middle class.
Okay.
I really believe we were lower middle class.
Exactly.
I mean, in all intents and purposes, we were broke, but I think we were lower middle class. We were just broke. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, because when I think about all of the things that we had under the tree,
exactly.
Oh my God! And my mother had 6 of us.
That's right.
Right, and all 6 of us had plenty under the tree.
Yes.
And so we, while we were poor, we never went without. None of us. We never went without. So we had so many, and then we grew. Well, I don't know about you, Sharon, but I can tell you, I grew up thinking that that's how Christmas was supposed to be. And so I passed that on to my kids, right? When my kids were young, we had 2 Christmas trees. And they had one tree upstairs and one downstairs. And both were filled with gifts. Now, granted, their grandparents went overboard, right? But so did their parents. And, bought them all of this stuff. And I remember the first Christmas when they were older, and it wasn't necessarily about the toys anymore.
Right.
That the limited number of gifts that they had under the tree that cost the same amount of money as the hundreds of gifts they had under the tree. And so, you pass that stuff down to the next generation, and they think that that's how it's supposed to be.
Right. And not having any children, we didn't have a lot of stuff underneath the tree because we always bought big ticket items, being married. But when Alyssa was small, Ira, one of the things he always tells is a story about he had brought Alyssa something, and she looked at that thing for a minute and was like, I want to play.
Right.
And so he learned then very early in her life that it was more important to spend that quality time. Yeah, you get them a gift, but it was more important to spend that quality time with kids versus just always getting them something. And so...
And, depending on the age of the kid, they rather play with the box than the toy.
Exactly.
So keep that in mind, too.
Exactly. And so I have friends and coworkers. I had someone telling me the other day, she was a grandparent, that she and her husband were going down to Florida to, what's the name of the park in Orlando?
Oh, Disney World.
Disney World. And she said, we're going down there with a 2-year-old. And she was just not feeling it. And she said she didn't know how to tell, the daughter, like, what are we doing? And she said, and she believes that the reason they really wanted her to go is so they can help pay for it.
Right. Let's be clear about that.
And they can have a vacation and they can babysit.
Let's be clear about that.
And she just was not feeling it, And so, she was going to go just to be a good, family member. But she was thinking that 2-year-old is not going to remember this. Why are you taking a 2-year-old to Disney World for Christmas? Why?
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in traveling for Christmas.
Oh, me either.
I don't know. It's just me. I'm just not that's just not big on my list. I'm thinking, we rip and run all year round.
Exactly.
And so for Christmas and Thanksgiving, I like to be at my own house and, take the opportunity to relax. Because when you have, particularly when you have kids that still play with toys, you got to pack up all this craziness so that they can have something to open up on Christmas after you done paid all this money on the trip, because they don't care nothing about that on Christmas Day, and they like, well, you ain't give me nothing. Right. They're like, yeah, you on this boat, remember? This was your gift. They like, no, you could have saved the boat and gave me a couple boxes under the tree. And so you got to, you got to load that stuff. You got to take it wherever you go. You got to bring it back. Then you're going to bring back extra stuff because people going to get the kids who don't normally see the kids for Christmas stuff. And then you got to buy extra gifts that you would normally buy because you don't normally see these people on Christmas. It's just a vicious cycle.
It's a lot. Let me ask you this. I was watching a movie yesterday. Well, I got a partial part of a movie because I was moving around. And the actor in the movie, it was Vince Vaughn. I can't even remember the name of the movie now. 4 Christmases, I think. I think it was called 4 Christmases. And Vince Vaughn said to one of his nephews, they were like, well, where's Santa Claus? And he was like, your daddy is Santa Claus. And the family almost had a riot because they had not told the children that there was no such thing as Santa Claus. So did you ever tell your children that there was a Santa Claus? And if you did, when did they know to make the transition that there really is no Santa Claus? Mama and daddy is buying all these gifts.
Okay, so right, don't kill the kids' dreams, right, and hopes and happiness as a kid. Let kids be kids. If they want to believe in Santa Claus, believe in Santa Claus. It don't matter to me. You know you paying for the stuff, right? And eventually they gonna know you paying for it too. So you don't need to kill a Christmas by telling them it ain't no Santa Claus. Let them have that if they want to. Now you can make Santa Claus look however you want Santa to look, right? Santa could be black, white, Hispanic, pink, whatever you want Santa to look like. Make it look like that at your house, but let the kids have Santa. And when eventually kids, they probably know for sure like around 5. So if they believe in Santa for 5 years, it's not gonna kill them. And like around 5, they friends start talking about it ain't no Santa, and at first the kids go into shock, like you don't know what you talking about, you dumb. And then next thing you know, they like, mommy, for real, I already know it ain't no Santa.
Right, exactly.
And then when they say that, you ain't got to play that game no more.
Is that how it went down in your house?
That's how I go down in my. That's exactly how it went down.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And so, and that's a big thing in our community about this Santa Claus thing. And so it's just part of a tradition.
It is.
And in our country, culturally. And you don't have to play along with it if you don't want to. Some people are hardcore believing that our kids need to know that there's no magical Santa Claus that's going to ride in the sky on a sleigh and come down the chimney. It's just not going to happen. Mama and daddy work hard for this stuff. And you are getting this because mommy and daddy can afford to buy it for you. And
they're going to figure that. They're going to figure that out sooner or later anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, at 3, let them have it if that's what they want to have.
I went to Chicago. I was not here last week, and I was in Chicago visiting with family. And the weather was, when I tell you, it was just amazing. And I started thinking to myself, when I tell you it was amazing, I know it had to be 50 degrees there or 40, but just very nice. And it just held up for us. And it was amazing, but I was a little disappointed because what happens is the memories of growing up in Chicago, particularly with the snow. Right. And when we were growing up, the snow was massive, the blizzards, the snowstorms. I remember walking downtown Chicago and they had had, I guess, something tied to each light post so you can hold on to it as you're walking because the wind coming off the lake, would blow you away, and just the beauty of the snow. And then as an adult, Ira, he doesn't like to go to Chicago in the wintertime. I don't have a problem with that.
I'm with Ira.
I remember a couple winters ago, my mom and I, we were downtown. Everybody knows when I go to Chicago, that's my favorite thing. It's one of the most beautiful places, and I just absolutely love downtown Chicago. We were walking around in our snow gear and everything, just in the snow. It was just beautiful. And so that's one of the things I kind of remember about Chicago. It seems kind of strange to have a Christmas without snow. It's like
I'm okay with it.
I mean, just on Christmas Day at least have some snow.
I'm okay with not having any snow ever.
Yeah, and because we're going to be home anyway, so having a little bit of snow is not going to harm you in any way. And you're
I'm
okay
okay with not having no snow.
And so that's one of my fondest memories growing up in Chicago. And because I had never been anywhere else, I didn't know any better, and that's just how it was. And so I'm not afraid of bad weather. And if I get snowed in, I get snowed in. It's just not a big deal. But the beautiful white snow on Christmas Day, that just goes together for me. And I think it's going to be quite warm here on Christmas Day.
Good. So, growing up in Chicago, for me, during the wintertime, I remember having the best fun in the wintertime. Because that's how we lived every year.
Yeah.
It was no big deal. You knew it was coming and you just went with it. And so it didn't stop anything. And I remember a blizzard that we had in 78, I think it was, or 79. And my mom used to manage this apartment complex, and my aunt lived in an apartment complex, her sister. And so she stayed in that, had to stay in the apartment complex at my aunt's house so that she could walk to work.
Yes.
And she left us alone as teenagers. Shall I say more?
No, don't tell all our business. No.
That is one of the fondest memories I have as a teenager in Chicago growing up. And I remember my sister Jackie and I had these snowsuits. She had a blue one, I had a brown one, or vice versa. And we were the only ones on the block who really had these snowsuits. And so, this was back when it really took a village, right? I remember Miss Green calling me, where's her soul, calling us up and like, go to the store and get me. Come down here and get this money, and then go to the store and get me in the blizzard. So, what we say? Okay, we put our snowsuits on. We thought we were cool. We went on to the store. Like, anybody else on the block need anything? It was just a blast.
Yes, exactly. And so, the weather is always important, and people talk about Chicago and weather all the time, but with climate change, a lot has happened with the weather. It's just not the same. And so every few years you may get some kind of major weather, but nothing as significant as it was when we were growing up. So I remember the weather. I remember the cold. And that's why, here to me, it doesn't get as cold as I'm used to it getting, So even when it's 30 degrees, I can go outside and run. I'll go outside and run at 30 degrees because it's like,
I'm okay with that. All right. I don't need cold weather, snow, none of that in my life. I'm good. I like warm weather. I prefer it be hot, but I'll take 60 degrees on Christmas Day. That's fine with me.
Right. And so also just kind of remembering, your favorite toys, when we were coming up, we had the Easy Bake Ovens, of course. And trust me, we learned to cook using those Easy Bake Ovens. No doubt about it. But one of my favorite toys was a personalized bowling ball. I don't know if you remember that. I wonder where my bowling ball is. I wonder what happened to it because it had my name engraved on it. We used to bowl.
She asked if we were upper poor class.
Yeah, I had a bowling ball with my name.
That's some middle class stuff right there.
And I don't know what happened to my bowling ball, but we used to go bowling all the time. And then my stepmom, Mert, she was in the league, and so I would go hang with her. So I just thought that was the coolest thing, and we learned how to bowl. And so that is because I thought that was like really a big deal to get that bowling ball. I don't remember the bikes and all that. I remember the Easy Bake Ovens, but I don't remember anything else significant.
I remember Shopping Cheryl, right?
Oh, yeah,
the
that's
doll,
right.
Shopping Cheryl.
Shopping Cheryl, that's right.
Like, that was serious.
Yeah, Shopping Cheryl. Oh, my goodness.
And I remember one year, Mama said that she had gotten me something for Christmas that none of us had ever had before. And I was trying to guess all sorts of things, and I could not guess what it was. And then my mother never wrapped gifts right.
No.
Whatever bag they came in from the store is what was under the tree. She regardless, when you open it, it's going to be the same thing, whether it's wrapped or it's in this bag and you got to untie it, right?
Yes.
So she never wrapped gifts. It was just too much. That wasn't her thing. And so she would put the bag from the store under the tree.
Yes.
And I remember really, and she saved this gift to the last gift that I had to open. And I remember couldn't wait to get to this gift to see what was it that she got me that none of my siblings had. And when I got to it, it was a green leather jacket.
Oh, wow.
I will never forget that Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And again, upper poor class, lower middle class. And you know what? It's funny because I never really thought about that.
I thought about it yesterday.
Until you just said that. And so that puts it in perspective for me. It was a green leather jacket. And when I tell you I rocked that jacket,
yes,
was mad when I outgrew that jacket because she was right. None of my siblings had one and I was the only one with one.
And, and it just makes you think about, how did she afford to do that?
Right.
Where did, it was just
our
amazing.
Our
grandparents, because our grandparents did give my mom their house for us to live in.
Right.
And so, that's why we have to be willing to help family. Right. And so we lived in their house and they moved to another house. And so perhaps, and I'm going to have a conversation with Mom about that the next time I talk to her. How does she make it work? Because not only did she have Sherelle and I, this is before Kiki came, she took in, our other three sisters and then some other people. and some other people.
Right.
And so, when you think about it, and everybody had something.
Oh, absolutely.
Just loads of stuff. And so, back then, they made it work with what they had. And so, we're in a different times now,
yes.
but they made it work with what they had. And so they made sure, particularly my mom made sure that she was able to share with other kids who weren't as fortunate.
Right. So Christmas was always great. We used to have to go to bed early on Christmas Eve.
That's right.
They would wake us up at midnight, and that's when we would open our gifts. And then after we opened our gifts, we would pack up, go over to my grandparents' house, open gifts over there.
That's right.
And so
and travel.
And 3:00 in the morning, we up on Christmas at my grandmother's house.
Yeah.
They playing Christmas music. They enjoying the adult time. We having a great time as kids. And I just remember like that was our tradition every year until I had my kids.
So do parents still do that? All of you all out there that's listening, do you all still, if you have children or when you had children, do you wake them up at midnight for them to open gifts, or do you all just wait till the morning?
I just wait till they wake up in the morning. I can't be doing that. I used to wait till they went to sleep to wrap gifts and put them under the tree, but I wrapped them all last night and put them under the tree. I don't have time for that.
And Sherelle just made me think about something that I hadn't thought about. We would wake up 12 midnight, open gifts, and then we would pack up and go to my grandparents' house, and I think then we may have gone to my aunt's house, and we would just, make these stops at each other's houses and celebrate with one another. And that is why when I went home, most of you all know who listen to our show that we have a 98-year-old maternal grandfather. That is my heart throb, my love bug. And so when I was home last week, that was my purpose, just to put my eyes on him and just let him know that he is loved and appreciated
yes.
for all that he did
yes.
for our family.
Absolutely.
And for who he was. And that because he's 98 and he is in a nursing facility and we're so far away that I have not forgotten about him.
Mm-hmm.
I could not stop kissing him on the head, mm-hmm. And it's just so important. And so where we are today, we're talking about Christmas, but it's just really about being blessed, right?
Yes.
Being blessed by the people that are in our families,
mm-hmm.
and those relationships, and making sure that we go back and just thank those people who helped us to get to where we are, who made sure we had Christmas gifts, who made sure our parents could take care of us because, mm-hmm. Coming up in the 60s and the 70s, we were just coming out of the civil rights era when you really think about it.
Right.
And so it was very tough on families. And so, so those memories were so important, and Sherelle talking about this tradition. So do you have any traditions right now with your children and Jim? And
stay at home. That's the tradition.
Do. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Stay at home. We, get up. Jim and I, we are early risers, so we usually waiting. The kids usually get up before us, and then last year we had to wait on Kiki. That was a problem. She was creating conflict in the tradition. So this year I hope she could show up on time because we don't have time to be playing with her. But we just stay home. We enjoy each other's company.
Right.
Me and Jim watch football. Mm-hmm. Once the kids get what they gonna get, they pretty much scramble and go be with their friends. They ain't
yes.
thinking about us. So I'm cool with all of that too.
And so I have some folks on social media. Somebody said, "No, I'm glad that talking kid of mine is sleeping late." And then somebody else said the grandparents would come to our house on Christmas Eve and stay until the day after my grandfather would cook. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, as we were talking to a friend at church this morning, and he was saying that he took his mom down to Virginia to visit with family. He said it was an impromptu family reunion last weekend. He said, and so Christmas can come and go for him. He mm-hmm. said because there were over 40 family members that just came, and he said they cried, they laughed, they just had a good time. And that's what it really is all about. And so our tradition, we don't establish traditions. One of the things Ira and I, and Alyssa, she's 26, so, money is going to be good for her. But for us, we don't really talk about what we want for Christmas. Like for today, we found out that we have to get our furnace fixed, mm-hmm. right? And so that's a Christmas gift.
Right.
That's a Christmas gift, and then we'll do some things together and do some little stocking stuffers. But again, when you are so blessed and I'm always buying myself something, so that's just how it goes. Because I treat me well.
Right.
So,
I'm not waiting on Christmas to get what I want.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to wait until Christmas to get something, because one of the things I'm sure about, if you all don't know, is life is short. And I'm telling you, I live my best life in terms of how I take care of me. And so, we got to get the furnace fixed, and there you go. There it is.
Kiki said, "Who wrap gifts again?" ? Okay, so we are one, right? Yeah. It's a collective we, right? I buy the gifts. The least you can do is wrap them, right?
Keekster, you make Keekster wrap the gifts?
Yeah, I make Kiki wrap gifts, Tasia wrap Jalen wrap Kiki's, Jalen wrap Tasia's. However, we need to work it out. But it's a we thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I have to give the instruction.
And I just hope that people don't feel pressured to just go out and spend unnecessary money.
Right.
And just get into a whole lot of debt.
Right.
Because, the way that things are going, we need to try, and I'm talking to myself too, you have to try to keep as much of your cash as possible. And I also use this time of year to set new goals for myself for the upcoming year, these short-term goals. And like Sherelle said when we started the show, we're about to be 1 year in on the show next month. Can you believe that? I think it was January 7th.
Right.
And so we're about to be 1 year in. And so time goes by so fast, and we want to make sure that we set goals that's going to bring better content, something that's going to, change people's lives, right? And have us thinking critically, about some of the things that's happening to us, and the things that we go through, and being able to support one another and give you the resources and tools to help you, and of course to help us too, because one of the things we know from our last domestic violence topics is that this is a time of the year that domestic violence increases. And so we're asking everyone, check on your family members.
Yes.
Right? Check on your family members. Make sure they're okay. Invite them over to celebrate with you and break bread with you, and put your eyes on them, and don't just look at people and dismiss them as if, well, that's just how it is. No, be there for your family members.
Yes, and with the pressures and stresses of Christmas and the holiday season, the domestic violence typically rise during this time. So
right.
Just check on your loved one. Don't isolate them. Don't let them isolate themselves. Stay connected, and just make sure you prepare yourself for being there when they're ready for you when they feel like they need you.
Let me tell you something funny. This is how, Christmas just comes and goes for me. And so in terms of the celebration part of it, I went downstairs in the basement to pull up the decorations, and I didn't even think about the tree. Like, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to wait for Ira to get home and he can bring the tree up. Well, he went downstairs and he was looking for the tree. He said, well, what happened to the tree? I said, I don't know what happened to the tree. The tree is in the basement. And then, of course, Mama Becky was here. And Mama Becky said, I told y'all to throw that tree out last year. So you all threw that tree out last year. And we didn't even remember the tree was thrown out. And so guess what? We got little mini trees all over the house. We didn't even go out and buy a big tree. And it looks so wonderful. And it's just decorated. And Alyssa said, oh, this is grown folks decoration. I was like, well, if Alyssa says grown folk decorations, it works.
I was upstairs and Jalen and Jim pulled the tree out, put it up, decorated. They didn't even call me downstairs, ask me if I wanted to help or not. I just came downstairs and the tree was up and on. I was like, okay, all right. Well,
so I wonder how many people still put up Christmas trees. I know a lot of people do.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
Just saying, we have the little small ones just kind of all over the house, and they we don't have to decorate them. They just plug in.
Right. Christmas is Jim's favorite holiday.
Okay.
He loves Christmas.
Yes.
And he insists. He's out shopping right now because he insists on buying us something beyond what we are already doing collectively, right?
Yeah.
And
that's
so,
cool.
I already pointed out, I'm like, I want these boots and I want these boots, right? Send you a link to them. You give me these two things, I'm good. I don't need nothing else. But he's out right now and buying us all of us something
That's
else.
his love language.
Yeah, that is. And I'm accepting that.
That's
Don't get
his
me
love
wrong.
language.
And I'm just like, okay, the kids said they just want money, right? And And so I'm like, oh, okay. And somebody asked me, was it you?
Yeah.
Asked me how much. Or do you ask them how much? I said, what? No, that's a setup question. You don't ask kids how much, right? You give them what you want them to have, and that's how much. So, yeah, Christmas is going to be great. I can't wait. I know my kids love Christmas just because what they get, for Christmas. But, in some households, the kids are not expected to buy the parents a gift, and they don't, right? At my house, I dare you to try it. I dare you to try it, right? I don't care if I have to pay for it. The least you gonna do is get me a Christmas gift. And so I know some people who kids don't buy them Christmas gifts. And I'm just like, where they do that at? Especially if they live at your house. I'm like, what?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
So, usually Kiki take Jalen Christmas shopping. And I was getting ready to call her because, I hate shopping. So I was going to call her and say, when you going to take Jalen Christmas shopping? And then I remember Jalen has a driver's license and he could take himself now. Yeah. So that took care of itself. So he was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and do my Christmas shopping while I'm out. I was like, more power to you. And then my daughter said to me yesterday, I got you 3 gifts and you're going to really like them. And you got more gifts than anybody. I dropped the mic.
Exactly. And so... Christmas, just think about the memories. Some people, everybody's memories are different.
Yes.
Right. And so just think about the memories and the reason really for this season. And so I was glad that we were able to go to church today because this is what it's really all about. And so as a reminder, as we close, if you're still looking for a gift to purchase someone, especially a beautiful woman in your life, gentlemen, just purchase a ticket to the 4th annual Woman Thou Art Great Women Sharpening Women Conference that's going to be held on March the 23rd, 2019. That would make a great gift because, it'll help create some memories and get them ready for the rest of the year in terms of, setting goals and reaching those goals.
Yes. Get you a ticket. Come see us. Check us out. It
Yes.
will change your life.
Yes.
Thank you all for tuning in.
Yes.
Have a happy holiday.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas,
and we will see
everyone.
you next
Love
Sunday,
you. See
3
you next
o'clock.
Sunday.